Two of the country's highest-ranking intelligence officials are about to testify on Capitol Hill. FBI Director James Comey and the Director of the National Security Agency, Mike Rogers, are facing the House Intelligence Committee.
Now, the ranking Democrat, that's California Congressman Adam Schiff, is wrapping up his opening statement right now. That hearing could reveal more about Russian interference in the presidential election.
FBI Director Comey is about to deliver an opening statement that is expected to address President Trump's claim that he was wiretapped by President Obama during the campaign. Jeff Pegues is monitoring the hearing from Washington. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. We've already heard some relatively surprising notes from this hearing, specifically from Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the panel. He, as a former prosecutor would, has laid out what he thinks is important about this House intelligence hearing. Specifically, some of the allegations about Russian hacking and the extent of those cyber attacks during the 2016 campaign. But he also, surprisingly, brought up this dossier. You may recall that in early January, this dossier was revealed that was gathered by this former British spy, alleging that the Russians had some sort of compromise or compromising material on President Trump. The fact that Adam Schiff would go there in this hearing, bring that dossier up, suggests that he views some of the information, at least in the dossier, as credible, which is something that we've reported in the past, that U.S. intelligence agencies have indicated that the dossier that I mentioned has been gaining credibility. So that is something that Schiff believes is important. We also heard from the chairman of the House Intel Committee, who talked about what he believes is the scope of this Intel hearing, specifically, again, agreeing with Schiff that the extent of Russian cyber attacks on the campaign is an important topic to cover here, but also the leaks that have surrounded this investigation, as well as whether there was some sort of improper surveillance, which now takes us to Director Comey, who, as you saw in that video, is sitting, waiting for his opportunity to deliver his opening statement. We hear from our law enforcement sources that he will have one. The FBI, though, isn't revealing too much about what he will say, but what we know is that he was angered by the president's wiretapping claims, and he has been waiting to respond to that. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he was asking the Department of Justice to publicly reject the president's claim. At that time, Comey did not want to talk about it because there were concerns about politicizing the investigation. And this is NSA Director Michael Rogers.
To support your ongoing
Let's listen now to National Security Agency head Mike Rogers and his opening remarks.
NSA has been working closely with the committee to provide you the information that you require for your investigation, and I can assure you we will continue to do so. When we last met in January, we discussed the classified version of the January Intelligence Community's assessment on assessing Russian activities and intentions in the recent U.S. elections. Today, more than 2 months after we issued this assessment, we stand by it as issued. There is no change in our confidence level on the assessment. Of course, the specifics of this assessment need to remain classified to protect sensitive sources and methods. So today, I will limit my discussion to information in the public domain, that of the publicly released intelligence community assessment. I hope you will understand that there are some issues I cannot discuss in an open session, nor will I be able to provide specifics in some areas. As the committee fully knows, the intelligence community has a long-standing policy of not discussing surveillance targeting information in particular cases, as to do so would invariably open the door to compel further disclosures in litigation or the release of classified information, all of which would be harmful to our national security. Like the committee, we are also greatly concerned about leaks of classified information, as they can reveal the sources and methods we employ to provide intelligence to American policymakers and warfighters and generate advantage for our nation while protecting its citizens and interests and their privacy. I also want to assure the committee that we take very seriously that obligation to protect U.S. persons' privacy. This applies to all stages of the production of foreign intelligence, but I'd like to emphasize one area in particular: the dissemination of U.S. person information. We at NSA have strict procedures in place to make sure that our reporting and the contents of our reporting are disseminated only to those that have strict need to know for valid purposes, which primarily means in support of the development of foreign policy and to protect national security. I do want to specifically mention that among the collection authorities that we have to target foreign actors in foreign spaces, FISA Section 702 and Executive Order 12333 have been instrumental in our ability to produce the intelligence made available to the committee and others in gathering the SIGINT facts of foreign activity in this election cycle. It would be difficult to overstate the breadth and scale of malicious cyber activity occurring today. Our adversaries, including nation states, have not rested in trying to penetrate government systems, steal our private industry's intellectual property, and make even greater strides towards the development and achievement of cyber attack capabilities. We have a hardworking and dedicated team at NSA that works every day to generate insights on this activity and to thwart its effectiveness. But cyber defense is a team sport, and one of NSA's strongest partners in this effort is Director Comey's team at the FBI. And I'm glad to be able to describe here today how we are working together to help protect the nation and our allies, to include providing a better understanding of Russian intentions and capabilities. In light of the IC assessment and findings, I welcome your investigation into overall Russian activities targeting the previous U.S. elections. NSA continues to employ rigorous analytics standards, applying them in every aspect of our intelligence reporting. Our analysts have consistently proven to be reliable and thorough in their technical and analytic efforts in providing our policymakers and warfighters with SIGINT ammunition to make informed decisions to protect our nation's freedom and ensure the safety of its citizens. They are diligently continuing to monitor for additional reflections of Russian targeting of U.S. systems and those of our friends and allies around the world, to share that information with our IC colleagues and foreign counterparts, and to produce unbiased, unprejudiced, and timely reporting of SIGINT facts in their entirety. And I look forward to your questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Admiral Rogers. Director Comey, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Schiff, members of the committee, thank you for including me in today's hearing. I'm honored to be here representing the people of the FBI. I hope we have shown you through our actions and our words how much we at the FBI value your oversight of our work and how much we respect your responsibility to investigate those things that are important to the American people. Thank you for showing that both are being taken very seriously. As you know, our practice is not to confirm the existence of ongoing investigations, especially those investigations that involve classified matters. But in unusual circumstances, where it is in the public interest, it may be appropriate to do so, as Justice Department policies recognize. This is one of those circumstances. I have been authorized by the Department of Justice to confirm that the FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts. As with any counterintelligence investigation, this will also include an assessment of whether any crimes were committed. Because it is an open, ongoing investigation and is classified, I cannot say more about what we are doing and whose conduct we are examining. At the request of congressional leaders, we have taken the extraordinary step, in coordination with the Department of Justice, of briefing this Congress's leaders, including the leaders of this committee, in a classified setting in detail about the investigation. But I can't go into those details here. I know that is extremely frustrating to some folks, but it is the way it has to be, for reasons that I hope you and the American people can understand. The FBI is very careful in how we handle information about our cases and about the people we are investigating. We are also very careful about the way we handle information that may be of interest to our foreign adversaries. Both of those interests are at issue in a counterintelligence investigation. Please don't draw any conclusions from the fact that I may not be able to comment on certain topics. I know speculating is part of human nature, but it really isn't fair to draw conclusions simply because I say that I can't comment. Now, some folks may want to make comparisons to past instances where the Department of Justice and the FBI have spoken about the details of some investigations. But please keep in mind that those involve the details of completed investigations. Our ability to share details with the Congress and the American people is limited when those investigations are still open, which I hope makes sense. We need to protect people's privacy. We need to make sure we don't give other people clues as to where we're going. We need to make sure that we don't give information to our foreign adversaries about what we know or don't know. We just cannot do our work well or fairly if we start talking about it while we're doing it. So we will try very, very hard to avoid that, as we always do. This work is very complex, and there is no way for me to give you a timetable as to when it will be done. We approach this work in an open-minded, independent way, and our expert investigators will conclude that work as quickly as they can, but they will always do it well, no matter how long that takes. I can promise you we will follow the facts wherever they lead. And I want to underscore something my friend Mike Rogers said. Leaks of classified information are serious, serious federal crimes for a reason. They should be investigated and, where possible, prosecuted in a way that reflects that seriousness so that people understand it simply cannot be tolerated. And I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you, Director Comey. Admiral Rogers, I first want to go to you. On January...
We just saw the testimony of the opening statements by James Comey and Mike Rogers. They are now taking questions. What is interesting is that the FBI director confirmed there is an investigation, but he would not go further than that because it is a continuing investigation. He also spoke to the idea of leaks was a very serious issue that must be addressed as well.
But it was the question everybody was waiting to hear. Did President Barack Obama wiretap now President Donald Trump? He did not answer that question, but he also said do not draw any conclusions because he cannot comment on a particular investigation while it's underway.
I'm also drawn to the tweet that President Trump sent out this morning that said James Clapper and others stated that there is no evidence POTUS colluded with Russia. This story is fake news and everyone knows it. The director of the FBI said much the opposite. He said that the FBI is indeed investigating links between the Trump campaign and the Russian government and coordination between the two, as well as an assessment of any possible crimes.
And that they will follow the facts wherever they may lead. Let's bring in Jeff Pegues, who is covering this hearing now. Jeff?
Gail, Director Comey confirmed a lot of what we've been reporting over the last several weeks. Months, in fact, that there is an investigation underway, first off into Russian meddling in the election through their cyber attacks and then selective disclosures of information, but also, and perhaps most importantly at this point, he revealed that there is an investigation into whether there was collusion. He's also looking into whether any crimes were committed. So to have the FBI director state that in a public way in this hearing is fairly significant here, pretty significant. And he says that we will follow the facts wherever they lead. He didn't give a timetable for how long this will take, which is also potentially problematic for anyone who is being targeted by this investigation. And so we heard a lot of revealing information there. We still have not heard conclusively from the FBI director directly about these wiretapping claims, but we expect that he will get some questions about that. Charlie?
Jeff, why do you think he did not, in his opening statement, address the question of the wiretapping as alleged by President Trump?
Well, perhaps he's waiting to be asked about it, and his response could tell us a lot about where that aspect of this investigation stands. We know that there were intercepts, according to our law enforcement sources and intelligence sources, capturing Michael Flynn and his discussions with the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Sergei Kislyak. Mike Flynn, of course, the former national security advisor to the president. And so when he responds to this, and we expect some sort of response. But we've been hearing it from both sides of the aisle here. The chairman of this House Intel Committee says there is no evidence of President Obama wiretapping Trump Tower, and then we've heard that from the ranking member of that committee, Adam Schiff, as well. So I think there is a conclusion now among members of Congress, certainly, that this is not something that was done. However, was there some sort of surveillance? We're trying to figure that out, and we expect that Director Comey will be asked about that directly during this hearing.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Our coverage, of course, will continue throughout the day on the CBS station and on our 24-hour streaming network. That is, of course, CBSN. Watch it at cbsnews.com.
Many of you will return now to CBS this morning. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Charlie Rose with Gail King and Alex Wagner, CBS News, New York.